Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine. Avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna te namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic, Sri Ramakrishna, a kindly light. In the previous class also, I have spoken on this subject, how Sri Ramakrishna is the embodiment of love and compassion. His whole life is the life of love and compassion. Even his incarnation was inspired by love and compassion towards the humanity. So even though it was too difficult to practice all types of religions, yet Sri Ramakrishna did undergo severe austerities and disciplines, practicing different religions just out of love and compassion towards the humanity, to show to the people that all religions lead to the same glory of God. So everyone should be aspiring for real peace and happiness. So Sri Ramakrishna, through his realizations, did show reverence and respect towards all religions of the world. And when he had realized the ultimate reality, he was full with tremendous joy. He became restless because he wanted to share that joy to as many people as possible. People are restless for so many things, for wealth, for property, for name and fame, for position, for fulfilling their ambitions, for so many factors. But Sri Ramakrishna was restless for the sake of humanity. How to make people really feel the importance of spiritual life. And so he would climb to the rooftop of the temple and he would shout, facing the people, "Where are you? Come as quick as possible. I have got great treasure to distribute." So overwhelmingly, with open hands, Sri Ramakrishna became accessible to anyone belonging to any religion, any community. So his whole life was built upon love and compassion, the purest form of love and the purest form of compassion you can find in Sri Ramakrishna to the maximum extent. There was no trace of selfishness at all in him. Even the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, the whole gospel, every page is inspiring love and compassion. When Narendranath, the future Vivekananda, wanted the master to allow him the highest superconscious revelation, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, from which there would be no return to this miserable world, Sri Ramakrishna, who had his own plan of utilizing Narendra's genius, sternly refused. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Look, you have come to this earth in order to fulfill a special mission. You have mother's work to do." And yet At one time, this Narendranath was skeptical about the reality of the state of samadhi or the transcendental experience of the divine. When as a student in the General Assembly's institution, now Scottish Church College, in 1880-81, Narendranath heard his professor, Principal Hasty, trying to explain Wordsworth's nature mysticism as in the Excursion. In trying to explain this Wordsworth's poem, in trying to explain these lines of mystic import, Professor Hasty spoke of those states of deep meditation in which outer consciousness is lost. He told his students that such states were only possible as a result of purity and concentration, and that they had anyway become extremely rare in modern times. And the teacher continued to say, I have known only one person who has achieved such meditation, and that is Ramakrishna of Dakshineshwar. You will understand it better if you visit this saint. Narendranath, among all the students, was the one who became deeply interested to visit Sri Ramakrishna. It was for the first time that Narendranath heard from his teacher, a great scholar with profound philosophical studies, and not particularly an admirer of traditional image worshipping Hinduism, that such a transcendental state is a human possibility and that it has been attained by Kali worshipping Brahmin. We know from Swami Vivekananda's biography that Wordsworth was his favorite poet. Swami Vivekananda loved it. A voracious reader that Narendranath was, he had also read the following lines in Tennyson's In Memoriam, where the poet describes a similar state of mind that he had experienced in a different context. While in a mood of deep concentration of his mind, Tennyson says, was wound and whirled about imperial heights of thought, and came on that which is and caught the deep pulsations of the world, Aeonian music measuring out the steps of time, the shocks of chance, the blows of death. In other words, it was what the mystics describe as the flight of the alone to the alone, whatever that may be. Narendranath's curiosity was aroused, and if he did not feel the urge to go to Dakshineshwar right then, Dakshineshwar came to him within a few days at Surendranath Mitra's house in Calcutta. It was as in Francis Thompson's The Hound of Heaven, God pursuing man who is running away from him. So the Hound of Heaven caught the hind of the earth. Narendranath was in the grip of the Master. What followed is well known. For Narendra, it was seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. In Sri Ramakrishna, Narendranath found the embodiment of another spiritual realization of which Wordsworth speaks in the same poem, namely the presence of the one among the many. One all-pervading spirit all over the universe. The fundamental Upanishadic truths that Sri Ramakrishna perceived and taught. Wordsworth says, and I have felt a presence that disturbs me with joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living star, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. This was a nature mystic's realization. Sri Ramakrishna's was spiritual, but essentially it was the same, God everywhere and in everything. Therefore it was that Sri Ramakrishna could bow down before a fallen woman of the town as mother, and feed a cat with the offering meant for the goddess in the temple. I clearly perceived, said Sri Ramakrishna, that all this was the Divine Mother, even the cat. Has anybody anywhere heard of a man of religion going on his own to the green room of a public theatre, considered as a devil's den, and blessing an actress belonging to low life? Sri Ramakrishna is indeed a saint with a difference. A man like Sri Ramakrishna, one who was true to the kindred points of heaven and home, a homely monk, a domestic sannyasin, one who trod life's common ways in cheerful godliness, keeping his soul apart to dwell in divinity, was the need of the hour. It was the mid-19th century in Bengal. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was an age of advancement of new learning. It was an age of loss of old faith. It was an age of material progress. It was an age of spiritual vacuum. It was an age of outward prosperity. It was an age of inner poverty. It was an age of self-complacence. It was an age of self-conflict. With the founding of the Hindu college and other educational institutions that spread the knowledge of English literature and Western science and philosophy, combined with the proselytizing activities of the Christian missionaries and the denunciation of idolatry, the emergence of young Bengal, and the determined defiance of the traditional beliefs, practices and norms, and the deterioration of the Hindu society itself, thanks to its abandonment of the essentials of religion and concentration on its externals only, with ignorance, narrowness, superstition and conservatism eating into the vitals of the society. A situation arose in the mid-19th century when the need was felt for the appearance of one who is God's anointed or God's chosen man, who would act as a savior. It was at this critical hour of history that a child was born in an obscure Bengal village of poor parents who were forewarned about the arrival of a divinely commissioned being. Sri Ramakrishna acted as a bridge between the orthodox conservative and the enlightened progressive sections of the community, between the believers and the non-believers in image worship, traditional ritualism, etc., between the widely read wise Vedantists and the not-so-educated common people. With his intense spirituality, his broad and sympathetic understanding of the essentials of Hinduism, his remarkably simple yet illuminating exposition of the main teachings of the Hindu scriptures, his Catholic acceptance of all religions as leading to the same goal, his own example of a life of purity and simplicity, of renunciation and compassion, of devotion to and faith in God, Sri Ramakrishna acted as Sri Krishna said he would again and again in different ages when religion would be in danger. He would be incarnating as man. Well, may we say, Sri Ramakrishna, Pralaya Payodhi Jale, Dhritavasini Vedam. In the deluge of destruction, it was you who had upheld the Vedas. So in Sri Ramakrishna we have witnessed a wonderful phenomenon of divinity in humanity, the spectacle of a village boy divinely disposed, growing into a saint before the curious and critical eyes of the Calcuttans, an almost illiterate person commanding the wonder and admiration of renowned scholars and intellectuals, a constant talker, not a preacher, a talker who only talked about God and godliness, one who saw God everywhere and in every man, who accepted after experiment all religions as true and effected a happy synthesis among the conflicting faiths, one who lived the life of an ordinary man but kept his inner self in constant touch with God, one who taught with a smile the essentials of the scriptures with simple illustrations from everyday life and rescued many souls, one who ultimately created a band of dedicated young men who acted as his apostles, and thanks to whose spirit of service imbibed from the Master, we have today the Ramakrishna Mat and Ramakrishna Mission, and their multifarious welfare and cultural activities. A simple man who has gloriously entered not only into the nations but the world's history, acting as a kindly light amidst the encircling gloom. Remembering whom we feel like saying today, Ramakrishna, thou shouldst be living at this hour. The world hath need of thee. So, Sri Ramakrishna in so many ways has made us to come closer to him through his infinite love and compassion. In very simple way, Sri Ramakrishna would teach people on spiritual matters. He said, both knowledge and ignorance are thorns. How nicely Sri Ramakrishna explains it. Butter makes noise till it is perfectly boiled. To chop logic about God and to indulge in theological polemics are futile as long as knowledge is not attained. Knowledge is a thorn in the path of self-realization as much as an ignorance. Both these thorns ought to be thrown away in the long run. Man has to go beyond knowledge and ignorance. Again, Sri Ramakrishna would say, where to see God? He is within and not outside. The Lord categorically affirms that the yogis who have attained knowledge through the study of the scriptures, compounded with meditation and discrimination, know that He dwells within. The unintelligent people who have not been through the process of austerity and conquest of the senses lack this knowledge. It is said in the Upanishad that the Supreme Lord dwells in everyone's heart in the size of the thumb, in the form of light. The yogis would see in meditation. If the concentration is deep enough, they would see that light in their heart. Ignorance, the cause of individuation. The sun in the sky and the sun reflected in the water are the same sun. Similarly, the embodied being is essentially the Supreme Lord with limiting adjuncts. The space is infinite, but it gets circumscribed when it is in a jar. Only ignorance is the cause of this individuation. And Sri Ramakrishna's younger days, in boyhood days, how he had experience with the first ecstasy. He was just 7 years old. While rambling in the wide fields alone, Sri Ramakrishna looked up at the sky, covered by a beautiful black cloud. As a foil, a flock of milk-white cranes flew against it. The lovely sylvan scene sent him into deep absorption, with the result that he lost external consciousness and fell down. However, as he said, he was fully aware inwardly and experienced a unique bliss, his first ecstasy. Sri Ramakrishna's message is relevant today and more needed at this hour than ever before. It is for us to act up to it and bring about a stable world order based on spirituality. It may also be mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna is not dead. He has only passed from the gross to the subtle state. For when on his passing away, his consort, Holy Mother, Sri Sharda Devi, was about to put off her bracelets as Hindu widows do, she had a vision of Sri Ramakrishna appearing before her and saying to this effect, I have not gone away, I have only passed from one room to another. Sri Ramakrishna's instructions are very specific and direct. He said, the motiveless work, the performance of duty without attachment, surrendering the fruit of his work to God is gain or loss, is pleasure or pain, and day and night he prays for devotion and for nothing else. That is the type of person is required, and that is the type of person Sri Ramakrishna gave him tremendous inspiration to go in the spiritual path. A sannyasi too must do all his work in that spirit of detachment, but he has no worldly duties to attend to like a householder. If a householder gives in charity in a spirit of detachment, he is really doing good to himself and not to others. It's God alone that he serves, God who dwells in all beings. And when he serves God, he is really doing good to himself and not to others. If a man thus serves God through all beings, not through men alone, but through animals and other living beings as well, if he doesn't seek name and fame or heaven after death, if he doesn't seek any return from those he serves, If he can carry on his work of service in this spirit, then he performs truly selfless work, work without attachment. Through such selfless work, he does good to himself. This is called Karma Yoga. This too is a way to realize God. Therefore, Sri Ramakrishna says, he who works in such a detached spirit, who is kind and charitable, benefits only himself. Helping others, doing good to others, this is the work of God alone, who for men has created the sun and moon, father and mother, fruits, flowers and corn. The love that you see in parents is God's love. He has given it to them to preserve His creation. The compassion that you see in the kind-hearted is God's compassion. He has given it to them to protect the helpless. Whether you are charitable or not, He will have His work done somehow or other. Nothing can stop His work. What then is man's duty? What else can it be? It is just to take refuge in God and to pray to Him with a yearning heart for His vision. Sri Ramakrishna said, Shambhu said to me, it is my desire to build a large number of hospitals and dispensaries. Thus I can do much good to the poor. Sri Ramakrishna said, I said to him, yes, that's not bad if you can do it in a detached spirit. But to be detached is very difficult unless you sincerely love God. And further, if you entangle yourself in many activities, you will be attached to them in a way unknown to yourself. You may think you have no motive behind your work, but perhaps there has already grown a desire for fame and advertising of your name. Then again, if you are entangled in too many activities, the pressure of them will make you forget God. I also said to him, Sri Ramakrishna said, Shambhu, let me ask you one thing. If God appears before you, will you want Him or a number of hospitals and dispensaries? If one realizes God, one doesn't enjoy anything else. One who has tasted syrup of sugar candy cannot enjoy a drink made from common treacle. Those who build hospitals and dispensaries and get pleasure from that are no doubt good people, but they are of a different type. He who is a real devotee of God seeks nothing but God. If he finds himself entangled in too much work, he earnestly prays, O Lord, be gracious and reduce my work. My mind, which should think of Thee day and night, has been wasting its power. It thinks of worldly things alone. Pure-souled devotees are in a class by themselves. You can't have real love of God unless you know that God alone is real and all else illusory. You cannot have real love of God unless you know that the world is impermanent, only of 2 days existence, while its creator alone is real and eternal. In so many ways, Sri Ramakrishna has expressed his tremendous love and compassion towards humanity through his sublime teachings, through his personal contact. So, we are all really very fortunate that we have come to Sri Ramakrishna and are able to study his teachings so that we may realize our goal in this very life. Page 788. God is like an ocean and living beings are its bubbles. They are born there and they die there. Children are like the few small bubbles around a big one. God alone is real. Make an effort to cultivate love for Him and find out the means to realize Him. What will you gain by grieving? All sat in silence. The Brahmin lady said, May I go home now? The master said to her tenderly, Do you want to go now? It's very hot. Why now? You can go later in a carriage with the devotees. Because the day was so hot, a devotee gave the master a new fan made of sandalwood. He was very much pleased and said, Good, good. Om Tat Sat Kali. First he fanned the pictures of the gods and goddesses, and then he fanned himself. He said to Yam, See, feel the breeze. Yam was highly pleased. Captain arrived with his children. Sri Ramakrishna said to Kishori, Please show the temples to the children. He began to talk to Captain. Yam, Dvija and the other devotees were sitting on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small couch facing the north. He asked Captain to sit in front of him on the same couch. Master said, I was telling the devotees about you, your devotion, worship and arati. Captain bashfully said, what do I know of worship and arati? How insignificant I am? Master said, only the ego that is attached to woman and gold is harmful. But the ego that feels it is a servant of God does no harm to anybody. Neither does the ego of a child, which is not under the control of any guna. One moment children quarrel, and the next moment they are on friendly terms. One moment they build their toy houses with great care, and immediately afterwards they knock them down. There is no harm in the I consciousness that makes one feel oneself to be a child of God or His servant. This ego is really no ego at all. It is like sugar candy, which is not like other sweets. Other sweets make one ill, but sugar candy relieves acidity. Or take the case of Om. It is unlike other sounds. With this kind of ego, one is able to love Satchidananda. It is impossible to get rid of the ego. Therefore, it should be made to feel that it is a devotee of God, a servant. Otherwise, how can one live? How intense was the love of the gopis for Sri Krishna? He said to Captain, please tell us something about the gopis. You read the Bhagavata so much. Captain said, when Sri Krishna lived at Vrindavan without any of his royal splendor, even then the gopis loved him more than their own souls. Therefore Sri Krishna said, how shall I be able to pay off my debt to the gopis, who surrendered to me their all, their bodies, their minds and souls? Captain's words awakened intense love for Krishna in the master's mind. He exclaimed, Govinda, 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 and was about to go into an ecstatic mood. Captain was amazed and said, how blessed he is, how blessed he is. Captain and the devotees watched the love ecstasy of Sri Ramakrishna. They sat quietly gazing at him, awaiting his return to the consciousness of the world. You read any page in the Gospel, how tremendous expression of love and compassion. That's the most amazing part. Alright, we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the ties of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.